Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Antoine Gros, so associate researcher with the MAP and to be a PhD student. I'm here to talk about the research project Repérage that we've done with Livio and many partners from the LRMH, so heads up to Olivier Malavergne, which is here too, and many collaborators from other labs and coming from the Stone work group. So we're not alone on this repérage project. So the title is, let's dig in a little bit because I took the time to precise it. Spatio-temporal relocation of old ribstone, contemporary anastylosis methods. We'll focus during this presentation around what is an anastylosis today. We'll see three different methods. The outline is quite different. We'll begin to see which items we're going to relocate, which items, which fragment of architecture we'll get to use to do this restitution. So the first part will be about this lapidary collection, stones and claveaux. Second part about the process and archiving of the process. We talk a lot about data archiving, information management, and we'll continue through this presentation. And we'll end with the problem of the collapsed arc, the third to be presented, anastylosis method. So let's begin with the lapidary collection. We do have if you've ever been to a lapidary deposit, you'll see this big range of shelves with stones of ashlar, stones, rubble that's packed on it, and very often you get to ask yourself, but where have it been? What was it used from? So if you have the luck to be with an archaeologist who have to or be knowledgeable about it, it's easy. But when you stumble across this kind of stone, what might be its foreign use? Here we have a claveaux. It's a ribstone. It's a part of one rib of Notre-Dame, of an arch of a vault in Notre-Dame de Paris. Still in this lapidary deposit, let's still imagine we're in this warehouse. We can do some analysis right on the block. We can see if there is some destruction. Here we have a torus, a molding that disappeared on the top left. We can see tool marks. We can see nomenclature, if numbering has been done by previous scientific or practitioners. We can do metrological analysis like the width or the length, or maybe the weight of the claveaux. Okay, so that's a bit of info we have just by looking this item. Can we do more? The answer is yes. We can first take a global view to this collection, because in this deposit we don't have one claveaux, but for Notre-Dame de Paris, 71 claveaux that are here, that are stored. You have at the left of the other 3D printed. I kind of spoiled the rest of the presentation here, but looking at this 3D printed claveaux, which weight far more less than the stones. You can see different state of them. We can do some corpus analysis, statistics one. Some of them present notches. Some of them have certain lapidary marks. We'll talk about it later. Last part would be to precise where do they come from, because I told you, if you are knowledgeable about the item, you can say, okay, I know that this claveaux have been in this arch, the one you see at the center on the post incendie, on the post-disaster time. So with you have the drawing of where it could have been, but that's kind of unprecise right now. So here you add the description of what's a claveaux, because we will be talking about claveaux over the rest of this presentation. So Initially, I told you so. The claveau was not in the lapidary deposit as it is now. It was on the arch, on the six-parted arch of Notre-Dame. At this first step, let's get a step back at this first step. Before any disaster, we have a production of information that pictures this claveau still on the arch. So here we have a laser grammetric survey. You see in white that show where the claveau may have been. So this is quite this. Image might not be very specific because we have an overlap of the photogrammetric survey post-disaster. In fact, we have the laser, which is in white, and the photogrammetric survey, which is color, but we still have some information. Let's continue through this journey because this second part is essentially a journey from the claveau still intact on the arch to the position in its lapidary deposit. That's kind of a synthesis of many activities that you've seen through. Let's stop a second time. From this laser grammetric survey, we can do a first anastylosis. As promised, you'll have different anastylosis methods. On this one, you can practice it only on having a survey. That's a digital remodelization. Here on the left, you have an isometry on the digital model done for the reconstruction. But we could have done this before. We could have done this just with the laser survey. So what's the particularity with this anastylosis, with this restitution, is that we use parametric modeling and direct feeding of 3D model on the point cloud. Using so it's not a model drawn by hand. It's basically a computer program that is done to make the claveau you'll see on the extreme right on the vault, in the virtual referential of the vault. It's done in 5 steps, usually using mainly le trait as mason could use it. So each line, each curve is then fitted to get not an ideal representation of the claveau, but one which is closest to reality. Using this kind of automatic digital anastylosis, parametric restitution, we can thus produce the section and plan view and continue analysis for this piece of architecture. So then we continue our journey. Right after the disaster, we had seen what we could do when the claveau was on the arch, laser survey and a first anastylosis. The claveau fell after the fire, and you can see of the layers they are easily recognizable because of their moldings, because of the 2 torus moldings and the flat molding on the center. So it changes of coordinates, let's say, from one place to another. The following will remind you the presentation of Olivier Malavergne, who told you about the fall of a claveau, then the excavation, the archaeological excavation done with urgency. So the claveau which fell on the floor is now in the bucket of radio-controlled machine, which were used to clean all the debris in the main nave. Let's continue the journey. The claveau arrives on a sorting belt, which gather forensic police, SRADRAC, and LRMH, mainly archaeologists and police offices, special police offices, were digging for clues for clues after the fire, and the archaeologists who were preparing and sorting every of the different item. So from the bucket we're out in the sorting belt, and the claveau and the other lapidary elements were stored on the pallets using the nomenclature established, the Trigodet protocol proposed by the Lémarche, Olivier Malavergne proposed you. So from a debris on the floor, we are now on a pallet, on a wooden pallet. Let's stop with the information produced during these three steps. The information is this enormous, very extensive photographic coverage that have been done, more than 50K photography documenting. You can see a top on the right image, the all moons of relics, then the radio control buckets, and then the sorting bell to finish in the palette. So we have 15K photos. Some of their collection are systematic, some of them are more opportunistic. So it's quite a lot of photographs to sort and to organize in the database. Let's continue. What can we do with these photographs? With this photograph, with the repérage project, we propose to make to use the photograph taken at the same time or in the same time frame to make point cloud photogrammetry. So there is a semi-automatic, there is now a semi-automatic production of these photogrammetric scenes, which are produced at precise time frames. So spatio-temporal time scenes that are time framed to document even more, not maybe precisely, but with much more information. If we have the geometry with the point clouds, with this point cloud survey of each item figured in the image taken for photogrammetry, we can then find existing relics. For this instance, let's continue with our claveau. In these photogrammetric surveys, we can pick a point on a claveau and get the original coordinate of it at a specific time, so now at the full time, and to take measurements. So the main focus of repérage have been to harvest all these photographies to find again the exact full coordinate of each claveau, provided we have extensive photographic coverage. So I won't dig in. I will mainly wait for each piece of the journey, for the question to dig it in more precisely, because we still have much a long path to do before arriving at this lapidary deposit. So we had these palettes. We have also all this photography. Now the claveau are stored on a barnum. They were stored waiting for the next step, which will be taken after completing different form to describe each claveau. The next step is the cleaning and the marking. Let's remind there. Let us recall there that there was lead dust on each of them claveau. So the need of cleaning them, then marking using an identifier. Let's continue with the digitalization. Anthony Pamar talked to you about. So you see now Eloi Gattet that use an ad hoc machine to process the photogrammetry of these 70 claveau. Of course, a photogrammetry produce a 3D model, which production is automated. So in orange, I think you have understood, you have the production of every piece of information, mainly digital or form-like information. Digitization is now done by Ilwagate. The clavo can be brought to a next step. The next step is a blank reassembly. A blank reassembly, it's an anastylosis done at at full scale. So restorer were bringing at various locations this clavo on a section extrained from the previous point cloud, from the previous survey, like we did with Andrew Talon. So there was this tarpaulin printed, and all this clavo relocated, replaces test replacement done by LRMH, SRA-DRAC, mainly by architects of historic monuments, with archaeologists and art historians. So it's an anastylosis, the second we see, using their very peculiar methods. The blank reassembly done, of course, some documents are produced when we see different series of clavo, different series of answers to do this anastylosis. Let's end with that. Once we have done this blank reassembly on Notre-Dame, on the Chantier Notre-Dame, the clavo were sent to this warehouse we name lapidary deposit. So here, at the end of this second part of this presentation, we have seen the journey of the clavo from their position, their original position on the arch, to the lapidary deposit. These have something of I won't say let down, because we won't let them here. Maybe they will go to a museum, or they might be replaced at the exact same point. That, of course, one of the goals of these works of anastylosis. Here you see the entire process. In orange, in orange you have the information which are produced alongside the journey of the clavo, and in blue we have the peculiar repérage works, which have been a digital anastylosis and the spatial and temporal scene confection. Every of these information are stored in the triple store database. So we're using RDF, Cydoc CRM here to automatize the harvest of these these informations. We do an extensive use of Sparkle, of course, using RML for mapping, if that's talk to anybody. So we are on the full RDF platform, the gold standard of nowadays semantic web data manipulation. And of course, if each of these steps, each of the stops of the clavo's journey are recorded using E5 event and E53 place package of the concepts of the CIDOM CRM. Let's arrive to the third and the last part of the presentation, because I've told you we had 3 anastyloses. So with an image, it's clearly a forgery. I don't know which have done who have done that, because Le Corbusier never resolved an optimization problem. While George Danzig, so the linear programmation, were invented at least 20 years after its death. So it's quite an original proposal to use to describe anastylosis as a mathematical optimization problem that might interest some architects, that might be all the interest of this forgery, which have been this image. I will stay relatively, due to the time, because I have 2 minutes left. I will be relatively easy on the mathematical point of view, and just stand by to give you the grasp of how has it been done. Here we didn't choose IA to do anastylosis, because we wanted a deterministic solving mode. At each execution, we wanted to have the one and same optimal solution. So we didn't use all this on the two. IA is quite costly to compute, and combinatorial optimization using linear programming, it's much more easy, let's say, on this case when these problems are correctly formulated, because all the research effort was to transcribe what all the predicates an archaeologist formulates when he do the anastylosis in mathematical equations. So the advantage in linear programming here is that you optimize using an objective function. So you have objective, which are always constrained by some predicates. Let's use all these archaeological predicates as constraints to then reduce the solution space and find the optimal solution of the anastylosis. First, we have to formulate the problem of the collapsed arch, which is the transcription of the anastylosis problem as a mathematical problem. On the left, you have the statement, and on the right, you have the predicates. The predicates, some of them are quite logical. Each claveau must be at only one location. We are doing an anastylosis, so it's logical to put a claveau at a location, and you can't duplicate the claveau. There is only one claveau when you're in the on the lapidary deposit. So there are few logical predicates that we want to say, of course, but to our solver we must detail that. Another one, let's get us closer to what an archaeologist must say. We have some constraint when we know a series of claveau. Where do we put them? When we want to pair, when we want to place a claveau on a location at their own original location. It's very much of a puzzle here. There is some other objectives we might use. We have claveau at different width. We have location of different widths. The goal in the anastylosis, logically, is to get the right claveau with the right width to the location with the right width. We have another objective we can formulate. The claveau is close to its fall position. Let's recall here, fall position, using repérage, we got the fall position of more than half of the corpus. So you see, piling up every constraint to constrain our problem and formulate much more closely what our anastylosis must look like. There is the stone marks too that give us precise information, like we have notching. You see this on the top image, notching which can be analogically figured like dominoes. When you have one notch on a claveau, it must be next to one another claveau which have the same knot. There is also cross, letting us to orient this claveau. So with all these piles, I should have put this graph quite bigger. I might do this this right here. With all these constraints piling up, we can do several models using every one of them or just part of them. In this graph, I didn't took time to properly define the one and only the one model that we used and that we interest us during this short presentation is the red red graph. The red graph is the model we use to put in every constraint in the axis. In the axis, we have a number of clavots, so using 0, 20, 40, 60, 80, 80 clavots, and the percentage of success of the model used. So the point that interests us here is the point at 80, when we have a problem of a collapsed arch of 80 clavots, like we have on Notre-Dame de Paris. We can hope by running this method, this optimization, a success of 70% of rightly placed clavots. That's much more of the two-thirds. So that's quite a good start, because we still have some ideas to get it to 85% of success. So the result, it's quite harsh, but it's here. It's the list of every clavo marked on the arch. So this is a solution where 70 clavo are rightly positioned. We elected this kind of linear programming because we can warm start the algorithm with already done anastylosis. So here in orange, you have what the you have the blank reassembly hypothesis, which has been filled with the algorithm with the purple values. And to visualize it in a less harsh manner, on the left, you can see all the 3D printed clavo, which can be remounted like a true blank reassembly, but much more user-friendly, as they weight 100 grams and now 50 kilos. And on the right, you have on the viewer an app to test some of these anastyloses. So I must thank you for your attention. We have seen the journey of the clavo, and we have seen during this presentation 3 different manners of doing an anastylosis nowadays, using an ancient survey like the lasogrammetric survey, using the methodology, the classical methodology of archaeologists and architects, and third, using linear programming and optimization. Thank you.